Welcome back into the Ohio MMA Podcast. I am your host, David McKinney. Joining me on today's episode is Mr. Clinton Ewing. How you doing, Clinton?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How's it going?
Going great, man. Thanks for joining me. I'm excited to have you on. I know you've been pretty busy with fighting and all your jobs, so I'm glad you could make some time.
I, any anything for you, man. It's really fun to finally be on here, hearing all the local fighters and listening to all their interviews with you and their podcasts going on. It's so cool to be a part of it and actually, woo.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. So you actually just won. I started doing Fighter of the Month, and you won for April for your big victory over Matt Dugan. You won the Maidman Promotions Featherweight Championship. Really interesting fight and a good fight back and forth against a really tough opponent. How did the fight go? Is that I know you won via submission. Is that how you expected it to go?
I never suspect how any fight's really gonna go, but I always do at the end of the day rely on my jujitsu. It's just mostly what I train a lot, but I'm always trying to, learn new things and always try and train like different things rather than just be only focused on one thing because you can be most predictable at that. You know, when you're only fighting one other person, they only have to, learn how to fight you. It's not like you're fighting a team, like a team on team sport. It's just you and him. That's it. But I never like I wanted to, I thought it was going to be like a lot of hands, and you can never predict anything in this game. It's just anything goes. But I don't know. I was just blessed to have that opportunity right when I was able to get his back. Any fighter would tell you they'll never give up that back once they got your opponent's back. You got to end it right there. It's the best spot to be in MMA, ground and
Yeah.
pound, and to finish it.
Yeah, and how does it feel too? I mean, I know the fight against Matt was actually originally supposed to happen back in December when the title was vacant, and then he won the title. How did it feel going in, feeling knowing that he'd already won the championship and being able to take a title from a champion versus it being a vacant title? Did that add anything to it, or
Um, it definitely it has like that, that great pressure of still you're fighting for a belt, understanding it is, amateurs and it's, the highest of the highest in that like field category. It's just I just I fought so many, really good people. At the end of the day, I felt like I could have done so much better. So I came into that fight. I even told Matt at the end, when it was all over, I was like, I had nothing to lose in this situation. I was already 5-4. So if I would have lost, I still been able to go pro with a dead even record. But I was just like, this is the best feeling for me coming into a situation with this fight where I have nothing to lose. I'm actually really I was like almost not even nervous. I was just more so nervous of, maybe getting caught because you never know when your chin's going to give out. You never know. It's unpredictable, but I was just very happy, very blessed for the opportunity that was given to me. And I just tried to make the full of it.
yeah? Let's talk about your record because I actually remember I called a couple of your early fights, and you from the gate started taking some of the toughest fights that you possibly could. Your record, as you mentioned, is now 6-4. But going and looking at the record, the guys you've lost to, well, first of all, you've never been finished. You've only lost via decision. But
Mhm.
all of the fighters that you've lost to are now pros. You lost to Max Metzger. That was your debut, which Max is about to make his pro debut
Yeah, I can't
in a
wait to
couple of
watch
weeks.
that.
You lost to Ferdoz, who is a super tough guy. I think he's 2-0 as a pro now. You lost to,
Amazing striker.
yeah,
And
very high level guy.
he's taking his grappling to the next level too. I keep up
Yeah,
on him as well.
yeah. Then you lost to Ty Meese, who's also pro. I think
Yes.
Ty is 0-2, but he's a very tough guy. And then you lost to Dusty Schaefer, who's also now 2-0. So the losses on your record, I mean, it's like I'm a big college football fan, and they always say quality loss. Is that how you feel? I mean, you've taken such tough fights in your amateur career, and of course you have 6 wins with 5 of them via submission, all via choke. You have some impressive wins, but is that something that the record? Of course, you're an amateur, so the record doesn't really matter. But you've
Correct.
taken such tough fights. Was that always the plan of like I'm going to fight the best of the best as an amateur?
You know, as we already know, amateurs, don't count once you go pro. It's like your practice resume in a way. So what's really good about this, when I first started to get into it, my coach basically like just straight up told me like, hey, this is amateurs. Don't really worry about having a really good record. Just go out there, do your thing, and then we will work on after every single fight what you really need to work on and what you really don't need to work on at the moment. Because you got to find out what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are. Because that pro debut going up against Max, I personally can't tell you there's no one probably in the area that was way better for me to go up against for a debut than him, which proved in the end was like, dude, what, 7-0 for his Amis, just complete domination. And for me to go up against him and immediately find out what I need to work on for like from that point on was like I couldn't ask for anything better. So for him just to completely demolish me, throw me around the cage, that took me to a whole nother level of understanding what I got to work on, what I got to get done, talking to my coaches, creating new game plans. So I'm very thankful for all my losses. I'm very thankful for all my wins. They all have their benefits. It's like I never take anything from any of them. It's all a stepping stone.
Yeah.
All the way.
Let's talk about your coach, 'cause since you mentioned your coach in your gym. I know you trained at Ohio Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Youngstown Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, whichever one you want to call it, but training under George Talaganis. Is that how you say his name? Talaganis?
Yes, that is my
Yeah.
main coach. Yeah.
But smaller gym and a jiu-jitsu gym, and I actually know you have been training. You're a black belt in Taekwondo as well. Talk about the gym and how you got connected to that gym and what it's like training at a gym that doesn't necessarily produce a ton of MMA fighters. I know you guys have more and more fighters coming out of the gym now. I saw Keegan Mahaffey got a big win on the same card as you, but talk about the gym. It seems like you guys are starting to put together a little bit of a crew out there.
Yeah, it's when I went in there, there was like a pro fighter that would come in and out barely, so I would barely get to train with them. But it was just like a lot of great people, from a lot of different age groups that just love the game of jiu-jitsu. So when I first started to go there was back in like 2018. I met George, who mainly took me over because he was the one to go to if you wanted to do MMA. So he took me under his wing. He got me going. He would spar with me every day. He would train with me whenever I needed to. An absolute angel. Whenever I needed him, he was there. He would just drop all ends. So I'm really thankful for him from the amateur career and taking him with me all the way through whatever my pro career has. But the gym in general is just absolutely amazing. With my other main coach, Andrew Murray, phenomenal teacher. If anybody's watching this, I tell you, come out on Wednesdays if you know where athletics is in Columbiana County. Great class. You probably get out wrestled, you probably get out jiu-jitsu. At the end, we always do ground and pound, some MMA, so it's always a fun time. But love all those guys out there. George and Murray, always in my corners. I got my lifelong mentor, Mr. Jingyan Bien, who got me into the gym way back like in 2018. So I'm very thankful for him. It's a great thing. And speaking of Keegan, let me tell you, when you have a training partner and he is so much more hungry, like fire thrilled, just wants to destroy anybody, that's him. Keegan is one heck of a kid. I love him. He's a great spirit, great man.
He's taking a little bit of a chip off of your game plan too. He went out in his second fight, fought a super tough guy, Dom Savaka, and who had 3 fights. He only had one, and one via triangle in the first round. So he's taking your same path of like the most difficult path I think possible of like who's the toughest guy I can fight. He looks like he's got a bright future. He's only, I think he's 20 years old, right? Which is
my good. He's
crazy. Yeah.
Perfect timing right now. I'm gonna do whatever I can to help him out because he helps me out at the end of the day. We both got the same goals. We both got the same dreams. Just can't wait to what the world's got for us. It's crazy.
Yeah, speaking of the goals and dreams, I know I've heard some hints, maybe some rumors that you might be looking at going pro. You have 10 amateur fights, which is a lot. I think the minimum in Ohio is 5 or 8. It just depends on who you talk to or
Yeah.
how nice you talk to the commission to be able to go pro. But Is that the plan to jump into the pro ranks next? I know you've definitely got a long amateur resume. Do you feel like you're ready for that next step?
I really am. I At the end of the day, I always put my heart, my soul into this sport. It's just I ever since I was 12 when I got into Taekwondo, I was only thrown in there because I was a spoiled brat growing up, you know. I wanted everything. I wasn't grateful for what my family provided for me. So they threw me into this disciplined martial arts summer camp. And well, one thing led to another. I just, you know, I was taught and learned what respect really meant and what discipline was. So from that point on, I'm just grinding and shining and just trying to bring everyone behind me on my back so we can be to the promised land. So it's a it's a ride.
It is always interesting too to see how I guess kind of the genesis of a MMA fighter, and people who come in and start from a, I guess, more of a traditional martial arts background and have that sort of that martial arts way versus like a guy who's like, I'm not a martial artist, I'm a fighter.
Mhm.
And then there's that like mix, right? How do you feel like you've like kind of transitioned, or I guess kind of adopted, because you got to be pretty vicious to be able to get inside of a cage and fight another human being. How do you kind of like, find that balance between like the martial arts side and the cage fighting, quote unquote fighter side?
Right. I guess is for me, I somehow the way I like getting that cage was it was just when I got thrown into that summer camp. That's as weird as this sounds. I guess it's like my thing I like is like I really like the way when I received that pain, like when I got punched in the face, when I got kicked in the stomach, when I got judo thrown to the ground. It was just something that just sparked inside me, and I was just like, I really like getting punched in the face, but you know, not like to the point where I'm getting brutally damaged, but like I don't know, it's just something crazy about it all. And certain people, I feel like they will definitely agree with me. They're just like, yeah, just being hit, man, just makes me feel alive. But I don't know, from like that point on and just moving on as the years come, I just slowly started to adapt to be like, hey, I want to make this my thing. This is actually what I feel like I might be here for, like my main sport. I was never able to, you know, be on the varsity teams of my high school. I worked and I did what I had to do to get there, but I can never, you know, show my stuff. So like this sport is that one-on-one sport where it's you or him. You're gonna you're putting your life on the line. He's putting his life on the line. Who wants it more? Who wants it? Are you hungry or is he hungry? At the end of the day, someone wants it more. Their grind, their heart. You gotta put
Yeah.
it. You gotta
No,
put it all.
that's a really interesting way to look at it. And I feel like you see so many guys come into the sport of saying like, "Oh, I got bullied as a kid," or like, "I got, and then I got into martial arts," and it is interesting. I always love to see how people or hear how people got, and started in it. And you seem like a really like, I mean, I'm sure if you tell people, you seem like a really like calm guy, and I'm sure when you tell people, "Hey, I'm a cage fighter," like the eyebrows kind of raise, right? I'm sure that happens, and that's always interesting
Yeah,
to
I always just tell people, hey, I might be a stupid, dumb person, but I'm just a simple man with a simple plan. Just always trying to live life to the fullest. Hey, it's always grateful to live one day at a time. So always wake up with a smile. Nothing's more worth than that. So just live your life to the fullest. One life, live it. That's what I try to do.
Yeah, it's always interesting. Even when I tell people, I'm like, "Yeah, I cover MMA and I do commentary," and they're like, "Well, I would have never thought that with you." And I'm like, "I don't even fight," so I can imagine like people that do fight and just like
Yeah.
what the responses you get are. But yeah, I'm excited too. Do you have any idea on like timing for pro debut, or trying to set something up, or
I
you don't have
don't
an
kn-
idea yet?
I don't really have an idea yet. Could maybe be like end of July at most, what I think right now. But I'm supposed to meet my coach today for you know a congratulations dinner from April. So we're gonna sit down and talk about it and see what goes on from there.
Gotcha. So the other thing I mentioned, I was joking with you about the jobs, and I was looking back, and when it was before your first fight, I always reach out to fighters and they're like, what do you do? And you're like, I actually have no, I have 5 jobs. Are you still staying that busy? I feel like that's crazy to be able to do that much and also find time to train and to fight. So is that still driving yourself all around and having that many jobs, or what do you do? What do you do full time?
So what I do full time is I work at a group home in Youngstown, Ohio. If you don't know what a group home is, just imagine like just a huge foster family in a way. And we have two different houses, a house of all boys, 10 boys, a house of all girls, 10 girls. And wherever I'm stationed to work at, I just work there for 8-hour shifts, sometimes a 16-hour shift, 40 hours a week. And it's just you're supervising, you're basically an advanced babysitter. You're just trying to take these kids out that have been removed from their families due to whatever situation that they're involved with their county and caseworker. Yeah. And you just, it's just sometimes it can be very stressful because they're young ones, young bloods. They're young teenagers or very young adults or young kids just trying to, they don't know what's right and wrong yet. So you're just guiding them. You're trying to, get them out in the world, make them have a great time, kind of forget what's going on from the reality a little bit day by day. But it's just, that's why I was telling you my job. I was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to respond to you. It's getting crazy today, but
Yeah.
it's
No,
it's
yeah, you were telling me your hours and I'm like, "Oh man, that's a long shift," and it was like 16 hours. So,
yeah, it's actually a really great job. I might complain about like how it's stressful and all, but at the end of the day, there's no job like it for how easy and how ongoing it is to actually work and flexibility with my training. I actually there's a one day every Sunday when I'm going to train. One of the kids is actually, gets paid from his county to come with me to go. So not only if I'm like taking this kid there, but I'm actually getting paid on the clock to help train the kid and other kids that want to roll and wrestle. I'm doing it as I'm living my dream already, which is, awesome. I couldn't ask for any more than that. So not only am I able to help out these young ones, learn something new, jujitsu, wrestling, I always want to try new moves, but it
yeah,
really is.
I was gonna ask that if that's something that you've done and do they know that you're a fighter? Because I feel like that would give you like instant credibility, right? Of like, oh, you're a cage fighter, right? Like that's something that's got to be cool. And I feel like going to a jujitsu gym or any sort of gym to like sort of hone that child energy
Mhm.
is definitely a huge positive and well a way that sports and other things, and for some people music and whatever it is a great way to hone that energy based on whatever the kid is. So
Correct.
I'm and I think that's cool that you're kind of combining some of your training and some of your other kind of outside life with what you
Yeah,
do full time.
involving my lifestyle with theirs so they can feel like they're just like me. They're no different.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's really awesome.
So I always like to especially fighters that are kind of on the precipice of turning pro. What's the ultimate end game for you in the sport? Is it to try to get to the UFC or PFL, Bellator, highest level, or where do you see yourself ending up in the sport? And what's the ultimate goal for you?
I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't want to go to the UFC and be, a champion of the world. That's that as the goal. I feel like that's the goal. It has to be the goal for everybody, right? They're the main organization everyone looks at, they're the name brand above anybody else. And that'd be a true blessing to get a chance and just show what I got. But if any other organization reaches out, I'm not going to say no, right? You got to build up your resume to be on the top, to be the best of the best. So you got to start somewhere. So I'm just going to take every opportunity I get, be extremely grateful for it, and just show what I got, and the rest will do itself. So I just got to make sure now that this is pro, mistakes will cost you, but you got to put it all forth. It ain't amateur, so nothing's getting erased this time. So I got to take that in the standard and know what's coming. So
Yeah, yeah. Just wanted to say, yeah, congrats on winning Fighter of the Month. It was a great month for amateur fighters last month. You won over some really great performances. Kobe Carr Pierce, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, had
yeah,
a
submission.
big win. Won the title at BCM. Jared Patterson, who you actually fought. It was interesting
Yeah,
when I was
see,
talking to Matt Dugan, and he was like, he had faced both of you. And I think those were his 2 losses, or he had faced um, Jared and Luke McMurtry, who were facing off, and I thought that was interesting. And now you guys have all kind of like intertwined and fought each other now at this
The
point.
triangle.
But yeah, Roman Paraback, who was undefeated and a beast. I think he's like 19, and then Jeremy Riley, who had a big knockout. So it was a great month for amateur fights. But you topped them all and won fighter of the month for April. So I wanted to have you on and say congrats. And yeah, I'm excited
Thank you.
to.
Yeah, extremely grateful. A true blessing. It's just love it. I would not have been able to do it, with the community, with the help and support and the family behind me. Like, I don't call nobody my fans. I call them all my loved ones. Like, without them, I can't be who I am. They support me all the way. So as I always say, it's a true blessing, and I'm always grateful and thankful for everything they provide for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome to have like that sort of support system. I mean, you won, I think it was like almost half the vote, or 40% of the vote. And when there were 5 fighters, that's a ton of support. There were a lot of votes. There were like double the amount of votes this month than the first month that I did it. So a lot of people out there voting and voting for you. So you've definitely got a pretty big support system there. I won't say fan base, a support system. But yeah, man, I'm excited for the pro debut. Hopefully coming up maybe this summer. Anything else you want to mention? Anybody you want to thank? Sponsors? Any of that fun stuff?
I just, like I always do at the end of every fight, if I get that mic, I just want to thank my family for always being there for me. Also, my second family, always being there for me, aka Youngstown Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They're always there. Shout out to George, my main coach, Murray, my second coach, and then I got my other instructors. I got Mr. Spatz. Sometimes when Jing's around, Jing Yen Bien, my lifelong mentor, love him. If you guys are ever around, if anyone's watching this, I'm telling you, if you got some time, look up Youngstown Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Facebook or Instagram. And by all means, you're all invited to come out. If you love me, if you hate me, come on, come roll, come hang out. I love it all. We love it all. We love you. Come learn
Yeah.
something new. It's always fun. It's always fun.
Yeah, I did want to mention, I almost forgot. So you actually got to fight pretty close to home in Youngstown at Penguin City Beer, which I don't know if you're a beer fan. It is interesting that I'm the two things that I'm passionate about, MMA and craft beer, and it's like, oh, there's fights. I actually went to the first show that they did there. Are you a beer drinker, or that's either way? That's a cool venue. It's like the fans are right on top of you. It's small. It's like, it reminds me of like an old like a boxing arena. And I
Yeah.
think they do boxing there as well. But definitely a cool venue if people haven't been out to it. But it's also, I'm sure, cool getting to fight super close to home as well.
No, it's it's a true blessing. It's a really great, like, it gives you that vintage feel, like right when we walk in, it's so open, it's and then everything's just everywhere, and you're just like, whoa, it all hits you. But no, I'm not a beer drinker. I am nowhere compared to that. I can't even get close to alcohol. My coach took me out on my 21st birthday, and ever since then, not for me. It's just, there's PTSD everywhere from it. Just, yeah, not a good time for me, let me tell you. All I remember is hearing his laugh, and I could barely keep my eyes open. So yeah, everyone
Well,
has their 21st, so mine was not good for me. So
yeah. Well, yeah, it's still a cool venue. I think whether you drink or not, it's just an awesome old warehouse building that's really cool. I actually did a podcast there before the first event that they did back in, I think it was December of 2022. So yeah, but hopefully they keep doing shows there, because that's an awesome spot, and it's like a great like proving grounds for like all the up and coming fighters in the area, and it's great, and they pack the house every time. So
it really
yeah.
is.
Thanks so much for joining me, man. Like I said, we'll keep an eye out for the pro debut. Congrats on winning the amateur title and closing out your amateur career with a big win over a really tough opponent. And yeah, thanks so much,
Thank
Clinton
you.
Ewing. We'll be back next week with another episode.